Hi, Miss Marion here. We're going to talk about Unit 3, Lesson 9. Go back to page 138 and read the I can statements. I can look at a graph and tell if the slope is positive or negative and explain how I know. And I can give an example of a situation that would have a negative slope when graphed. Go ahead and read those. Give yourself a sentence and how you feel about it right now, and give yourself a number between 1 and 4. So our goals for today is to be able to create a graph of a line representing a linear relationship with a non-positive rate of change, and also be able to interpret the slope of the non-increasing line of content. So those are our goals for today. You should be able to do that by the end of today. Go ahead and turn to page 81. On page 81, you have this graph, and I want you to write down which one doesn't belong. So you're going to fill it in the sentence frame. I think doesn't, fill in the blank. I think blank doesn't belong because blank. And go ahead and write that underneath this picture on page 81. And then pause and then come back. All right, so on these kind of things, there's not a specific answer itself. It's more of getting us thinking about the different lines. Some people might sit there and say, oh, I think T doesn't belong because it's blue. Or I think S doesn't belong because it's up here at this point and not down here with the other ones. I think V doesn't belong because it crosses all the other ones. So whatever answer you have, it's more of just getting us go ahead and thinking about lines and how they are. Today we're going to be talking about metros, subways, metros, and fare cards. So this is a metro station, and you can actually go and you can buy a little ticket and put money on it. Here is an example of your metro ticket or subway ticket, and you can go ahead and put money on it, and then every time you use it, the money comes off. So that's kind of a background knowledge as far as what we're going to be talking about today. All right, let's go ahead and turn to page 82. This actually goes between 82 and 83. The story is that Noah puts $40 on his fare card. Every time he rides public transportation, $2.50 is subtracted from the amount available on his card. So let's go ahead and answer on page 82 the next question, number 1. How much money in dollars is available on his card after he takes 0 rides, 1 ride, 2 rides, and then think about what is going on that like X rides. Okay, go ahead and pause and answer those questions. All right, let's go ahead and answer it. So at 0 rides, so he has not used his card whatsoever, he will have $40. Okay, and then let's think about it as far as after 1 ride. So remember, every time he rides, it's going to take $2.50 off of the amount that is left on his card. So if we do 1 ride, he will have $37.50. Let's go ahead and figure out for 2 rides. So let's take off another $2.50, and he'll have $35. And let's kind of think about it. So what are we doing to kind of make this happen? We're taking the $40 and we are subtracting off the $2.50 every time he rides. So let's go ahead and let's take this information and let's graph it on our graph and kind of see what's going on. So go ahead and pause and graph that. All right, so if you have graphed information on here correctly, you should have a line kind of like this. And I decided to just extend it out all the way until it hit the x-axis. All right, let's go ahead and answer number 3. I forgot to put that on here. So number 3 is, how many rides can Noah take before the card runs out of money? Where do you see this number of rides on your graph? So go ahead and answer that question. Go ahead and pause and answer. All right, so if you actually look at the graph, how long does it take for Noah to have 0 money on his card? It will actually take 16 number of rides. And how do you see that? Well, if you follow this line that we just barely made, down here we have $0. And how long did it take? It went 16 rides. So talking about Noah's fare card. Here is the graph that shows the amount of Hans fare card for every day of last July. So on page 83 to 84, this is where you're going to find that graph. So let's go ahead and let's answer number 1. Describe what happened with the amount of Hans fare card in July. Go ahead and answer that question. Answer it on page 83. So what happened in July? Well, the amount of money that was on Hans' card is $20. It didn't change at all. There's no change. So on number 2, plot and label 3 different points on the line. Go ahead and pause at this moment and go ahead and do that. All right, here are the 3 points I decided to go ahead and pick. I went ahead and got 3,20, 10,20, and 18,20. Why did I say I decided to go ahead and do that? Oh, those were the ones I just decided to go ahead and pick. So let's go ahead and let's write an equation that represents the amount of card in July, y, after the number of days. So remember, when we are writing equations, we did this the other day, we have y equals our slope sitting next to x, and then plus like our start, or our y-intercept, or our begin. So go ahead, pause for a second, and go ahead and write that. All right, so let's kind of think about, well, we need to find a slope, right? So if I look at the different points, if I did a slope triangle between this one and this one, I don't have any vertical. So really, if we look at it, if we're doing a slope triangle between those 2 points, my vertical is 0. My horizontal is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's put 0 divided by 7 in our calculator, and our answer is 0, right? So if we want to go ahead and write the equation, we follow the format. We're going to have y equals 0x plus, and then where does it start? Well, it starts at 20. That's how much he has on his card. So we're going to have as 20. Now remember, mathematicians don't really like to write down zeros. And we know from here, 0 times x is 0. So this equation that mathematicians really like better is y equals 20. So this is our equation for this line. So let's go ahead and let's answer number 4. What value makes sense for the slope of the line that represents the amount of Hans fare in July? Go ahead and pause and answer that question. All right, so let's go ahead and answer that question. So what's really kind of going on as far as the slope? Well, his amount of money on his fare card has not changed. So $0, was taken off of his card per day. So nothing changed, nothing happened, and that's why we have the equation y equals 20, because nothing changed on this card as far as the amount of money that is there. All right, so we're going to notice what happens when we change the slope kind of up at the top, and what happens with the line itself when we go ahead and change everything. So kind of watch while I go ahead and do that. So notice how when the slope goes bigger as far as positive, it goes more towards up and down. Here is where it happens with 0. And then here is a negative slope kind of going down the hill. Going back to 0, and then here we are going up the hill with a positive number. So knowing that piece of information, let's go ahead and turn to page 85, and let's look at this graph and talk about Elena. Elena borrowed some money from her brother. She pays him back to give him the same amount every week. The graph shows how much she owes after each week. Answer and explain your reasoning for each question. Number 1, what is the slope of the line? Go ahead and pause and figure out what the slope of the line is. So I figured out the slope of the line is -3. Let's figure that out. We can go ahead and we can still do a slope triangle just like we've done before. And we pick the 2 points, and we can go ahead and do a slope triangle itself. So it's 1, 2, 3 steps. And then here is 1 step. So my slope is 3, over 1. But notice how this is going down the hill. So all of this is going down the hill, and because it's going down the hill, it is going to make it a negative slope. And that's where we get the -3. Go ahead and answer number 2. Explain how you know whether the slope is positive or negative. And write that down on page 85. So I know that the slope is negative, again, as I said before, because this is going down the hill. So we are taking away, so then it will be negative. Let's go to number 3. What does the slope represent in this situation? So we have this -3. We write down what it means in the story, in the situation itself. Pause and answer that question. So what does that actually mean? That means that the slope represents the amount that she pays back each week. So she's paying $3 back to her brother, or taking $3 off of the amount that she owes to her brother every single week. So let's answer number 4. How much did Elena borrow? Go ahead and pause and answer that question. How much did she borrow? She borrowed $18 from her brother. So how do we figure that out? Well, there's a couple of things. One, this is where the line actually starts. And that point is 0,18. So at the first month, she has not, so at 0 months, or the time frame, she still owes him $18. Number 5, how much time will it take for Elena to pay back all the money that she borrowed? So go ahead and pause and answer that question right now. So how much did it ask her to go ahead and pay back all the money? So if we follow this line, there is 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4, 5, 6. So it took her 6 weeks to make $0. So as far as how much she owes her brother. So for how long will it take? It's going to take her 6 weeks. So the reason why we were going through this activity is to understand that we can actually have positive slopes and we can also have negative slopes. We always read slopes from left to right, just like in reading left to right. And if it's going up the hill, it's going to be a positive slope. If it's going down the hill, kind of like in this situation, the slope is going to be a negative slope. So again, here is an example of positive slopes and negative slopes. So if we look at this triangle over here, this slope triangle, so we have 1, 2, 3, so that's our vertical. Let's find our horizontal. So we have 1 going from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this slope over here is 3/4. We read it from left to right, so we're reading it from left to right. We're going up the hill, positive 3/4. Let's go ahead and do the other. So my vertical is 1, my horizontal is 2, and because it's going down the hill, so remember we read it from left to right, because it's going down the hill, my slope is going to be a -1/2. So here's examples of positive slopes and negative slopes. So go ahead and go back to page 138. Go ahead and give yourself a sentence about this lesson. So I can look at a graph and tell if the slope is positive or negative and explain how I know. And I can give an example of a situation that would have a negative slope when it's graphed. Give yourself a sentence and also a number. So 1, I'm still confused. 2, I kind of got it. 3, I did get it. And then 4, I can teach it to my friend. So go ahead and make sure you do the lesson practice problems for lesson 9. They are found in modules. So tomorrow we do have a quiz. You'll need to go ahead and get into modules and you'll find that quiz. Our quiz goes from lesson 5 all the way up to lesson 8. So it does not count this lesson that we did today, but our quiz tomorrow is lesson 5 through lesson 8. Make sure you go over those before you go ahead and start your quiz tomorrow. And it will be found in modules. All right, have a good day. Thank you.